Tanjiro gasped, words spilling out in a rush. It's different. There's a child. A distortion Muzan is searching, please. Urokodaki's hand went to his mask, and the silence stretched, heavy as tide. Then the Tenjiman moved with a speed that surprised Tanjiro. He grabbed a rolled blanket, barked orders, and within moments a rope ladder was lowered and Nezuko awake at Tanjiro's side was bundled in a corner behind the house safe and watched. Urokodaki's eyes flicked to Tanjiro with a rare softness and then to the sky where the air had gone falsely still. Bring him, Urokodaki said. We have no time for explanations. Tanjiro nearly bowed with relief and hauled the boy into the small yard. The child's flicker stilled a fraction at the sight of the master, as if even nightmares recognized authority. No sooner had they settled than a ripple ran through the forest ascents, like water struck by a great stone. Urokodaki's fingers tightened on a strap. He's here, he said, quieter than anything else. Everyone froze. Tanjiro felt the world contract to the single beat of Muzan's approach. It was not the thunder of footsteps, but the pressure of intention. Without flourish, without noise, Muzan stepped into the clearing like a shadow choosing to be seen. He wore the same immaculate dark coat, but the trees seemed to lean away from him. Even the light recoiled. Tanjiro stepped before the boy reflexively, Nikirin in hand, though the blade shook more from the weight of the moment than from fear. Muzan's gaze ran over them and lingered on Tanjiro with that cold, knowing interest he reserved for things that might complicate his designs. You keep finding anomalies, Muzan said softly, almost conversational, and there was a murderous patience in his voice that made Urokodaki's jaw tighten. Interesting. Urokodaki moved like water, planting himself between the Demon King and the fragile figure at Tanjiro's feet. You will not touch the child, the old master said. Muzan smiled, as if enjoying a private joke. You have spirit for such a small mountain. Tell me, Tengu, what will you do when the world winds tighten? Urokodaki did not answer with words. His stance was the sentence. The air snapped like a taut wire. For a heartbeat it seemed Muzan might press the advantage and shred them there. But then something shifted. Sabito's voice, distant and running, echoed down the slope. The plan had bought them time. Muzan's expression never changed, but he inclined his head almost politely. You will meet me again, he promised. And with that small, certain cruelty, he vanished into the trees as if he had been nothing more than mist. The forest exhaled, and the snow whispered back into motion. Tanjiro sank to his knees, chest heaving with the kind of exhaustion that comes not only from speed, but from a soul taxed by impossible choices. Urokodaki, placing a hand on Tanjiro's shoulder, said simply, You brought a fracture to the mountain. That fracture will need tending. We will not flinch. Tanjiro looked up at the masked face and felt, for the first time since his rebirth, that perhaps there was a path through this maelstrom, not because fate would relent, but because people like Urokodaki and Sabito might stand in the cracks and hold them open long enough for others to pass. Night settled over MT Sajiri with a thick, muted stillness, as if the mountain itself were holding its breath in response to Muzan's departure. Inside Urokodaki's home, the air was warm with lantern light and the soft smell of broth, but tension coiled through every corner like a second shadow. Tanjiro sat beside the child, watching him tremble in small, irregular pulses. Each pulse sparked a faint distortion in the air like heat over stone, and Tanjiro could not tell whether the boy was cold, terrified, or simply unraveling. Urokodaki moved with deliberate calm, placing talismans around the room and adjusting an intricate set of ropes and charms that hummed faintly with containment. Properties not meant for demons, but for something stranger, something caught between forces even the Hashira had never named. His condition is not demonic, Urokodaki said quietly as he worked. P is tethered to something outside this world, and Muzan wants that tether severed. Tanjiro absorbed the words, the pieces forming a picture he didn't yet understand, but he nodded, committed to protecting the child, even without the full truth. Sabito arrived moments later, snow-dusted and breathing hard, but alive. His presence eased Tanjiro's chest, and Kanao followed behind him. Her composure intact, but her eyes sharper than usual, as though the encounter with Muzan had honed her instincts even further. The music sprawled on the floor dramatically, pretending exhaustion but listening closely, while Zenitsu lingered in the doorway, trembling, making himself useful by bringing blankets and tea whenever his fear allowed it. Urokodaki studied all of them with the measured gaze of a man who had trained generations, then turned back to Tanjiro. "You need to tell me everything the boy said," he instructed. Tanjiro repeated the child's words, how he spoke of memories that didn't belong to this world, how he recognized Tanjiro without ever meeting him, how he described Muzan as if he understood something deeper than fear. Urokodaki listened without interruption, but Tanjiro saw something tighten beneath the mask at the mention of the boy recognizing him. When the master finally spoke, his voice had changed. "There have been legends," he said slowly, "of spiritual fractures, places where reality thins and allows echoes from other possibilities to slip through. Most are harmless. Some manifest as dreams. But occasionally," he paused, "occasionally they take form. If this child is one of those echoes, Muzan is not simply after power. He is after a map." The room went silent. Sabito's expression darkened. "A map to what?" Urokodaki answered without hesitation. "To outcomes he fears. Outcomes where he loses. If he can destroy an echo of a world where he falls, he may believe he can weaken or rewrite the path of this one." The idea chilled Tanjiro. The child wasn't he just a lost soul. He was a threat to Muzan's sense of inevitability, and that made him infinitely more dangerous. The boy stirred suddenly, gasping, and for a moment his eyes glowed with an otherworldly clarity. "You're different here," he whispered, staring at Tanjiro, as though comparing him to a reflection only he could see. "Your scent. It's not burned." Tanjiro leaned closer, pulse quickening. "What does that mean?" The boy blinked rapidly, his form flickering like a candle range caught between breezes. "In the other place, everything is red. Everything is smoke." His voice strained. "You didn't stop him there." The words hit Tanjiro like a blow. The boy's small body convulsed once more, and Urokodaki quickly tightened one of the containment ropes, grounding the distortion. "He is destabilizing," the master murmured. "We will need the help of people who understand shifts in breathing and emotion better than anyone else." Just then, a rustle outside drew all eyes. Shinobu pushed open the door, cloak dusted with snow, expression unreadable but unmistakably alert. Behind her, Ju stepped into the light, silent and rigid, as if he had followed the scent of danger straight to its source. Shinobu offered a polite nod toward Urokodaki. "We received your message. Something capable of alarming who must be taken seriously." Her gaze drifted to the boy, then to Tanjiro, then back to the master. "Tell us everything," she said. Tanjiro exhaled with relief. Help had arrived, but with it came the realization that whatever path they were on no longer affected only them. It was spreading, rippling outward, touching the pillars of the cores themselves. And Tanjiro felt the weight of a new certainty. The fracture had changed their world, and Muzan had just taken notice. Nothing would be the same again. Shinobu knelt beside the boy with a calm precision that contrasted sharply with the heavy air in the room. Her eyes were soft, but Tanjiro sensed that behind them she was analyzing everything: his breathing, his patterns of distortion, even the faint tremors in the tatami under him. Ju remained standing near the door, silent as a shadow, but his presence alone steadied the atmosphere, giving the room a quiet structure amid the lingering chaos. The boy flinched when Shinobu touched his forehead, and for an instant the air around his body rippled again, distorting the lantern light like warped glass. Shinobu didn't recoil. She simply adjusted her breathing and murmured, "It's not pain, it's displacement. He's trying to exist in a world that doesn't have a place for him yet." Her tone held scientific curiosity, but also a hint of sorrow. Urokodaki explained everything from the beginning: the encounter, Muzan's appearance, the strange recognition the boy had shown toward Tanjiro. Shinobu listened closely, her expression shifting subtly with each detail, while Ju's eyes narrowed slightly at the mention of echoes from another world. When Urokodaki spoke of fractures and alternate outcomes, Shinobu exhaled slowly, placing a hand under her chin with uncharacteristic seriousness. If that is true, then this child may carry knowledge Muzan has never had access to until now, something that terrifies him deeply. She turned her gaze to Tanjiro. And if Muzan is frightened, he will act recklessly. The boy's breathing grew uneven again, and Shinobu leaned closer, gently holding his hand. "Listen," she whispered. "You're safe here. No one will hurt you." The child's eyes opened slightly, and for a brief second, they were not the eyes of a frightened boy. They were ancient, heavy with memories he should not possess. "He touched me," the boy murmured weakly. "When he grabbed my face earlier, he took pieces of me." Tanjiro felt a chill. "Muzan stole part of your memories." The boy nodded shakily. "He wants to know the path where he dies." He saw a little, but not enough. His body flickered, phasing in and out, and Shinobu tightened her hold to anchor him. "He's losing cohesion," she said. "We need something that can ground fragments of spirit and form." Urokodaki moved to a wooden chest at the back of the room and retrieved a small lacquered box containing a preserved piece of wisteria root. "This alone won't stabilize him," he said, "but combined with a constant breathing pattern, it might keep him here long enough to understand what he knows." Shinobu nodded. "Tanjiro, your presence seems to calm him. Your scent, your breathing knit, connects to whatever version of you he remembers." Tanjiro sat beside the boy again, steadying his breath, and the child's trembling softened immediately, the distortions shrinking until the air settled almost normally. The room fell quiet, every sound amplified by the tension. Ju finally spoke for the first time since arriving, his voice low but firm. "If Muzan has already taken interest, we must assume he will return. And next time, he won't come alone." His hand brushed the hilt of his blade instinctively. "We need to move the boy. Keeping him here endangers everyone on the mountain." Shinobu agreed. "We should bring him to the butterfly mansion. The environment is controlled, secure, and we have the tools needed to stabilize him if he can be stabilized at all." She exchanged a brief look with Urokodaki, who gave a slow, reluctant nod. Tanjiro glanced at the boy, whose breathing now mirrored his own, fragile but steady. "Will he survive the trip?" Shinobu hesitated, the faintest crack in her composure. "If the fracture inside him widens, he may disappear before we even leave the mountain." Tanjiro's chest tightened. "Disappear, as in die?" Shinobu shook her head. "No, not die. Heal, simply cease to exist here, as though he were never in this world at all." Tanjiro clenched his fists. "Then we move now." Before anyone could respond, the boy's eyes snapped open with sudden clarity, and his voice rang out stronger than before, echoing with overlapping tones that didn't belong to a single throat. "He's coming back." Everyone froze. The boy's body flickered violently, the distortions spiraling outward like cracks in glass. "Muzan is searching for the scent he stole. He will find this place soon." His small hand clutched Tanjiro's sleeve with desperate strength. "Don't let him rewrite us." The room erupted into motion. Urokodaki reached for his blade. Shinobu lifted the boy with practiced gentleness. Ju stepped outside, scanning the forest with a stillness sharper than steel. Tanjiro inhaled deeply, steeling himself as the cold air seeped in. The threads between worlds were tightening, and Muzan was already pulling at them. Ju stood at the edge of the clearing, motionless, his eyes fixed on the dark line of the forest where the shadows seemed to breathe. Even without speaking, Tanjiro sensed what he already knew. The air carried a faint, unnatural heaviness, the early signs of Muzan's presence. It wasn't his scent, not fully, but something like the echo of it, a residue left by a predator already closing in. Urokodaki tightened the straps of his mask with deliberate calm. while Shinobu adjusted her grip on the unstable boy, whose body remained flickering between